All right, I'm just getting my focused assist turned on here because we are live. Welcome to Office Flash Friday. How we doing?
I'm hanging in, sir. How are you?
Doing great, working remote. How about I get kind of
Yeah. Well, that's going to be one of our coverage areas today, right? You got some Power Platform stuff. I've got an overview of the Microsoft COVID-19 response, our entitlements, what's changing on the team's entitlements, kind of dig into some of those things
Yep.
and the links around that. And then we're going to talk about fun stuff. Cortana, Soundscape, and a human-powered ransomware as our round out from me.
Wow, dude. I don't even know what Soundscape is. That sounds amazing. I can't wait.
It is amazing.
Cool. Well, let's do it. All right. So I don't have a lot. I was just telling Doug I only have a couple things this week, but this one is actually pretty cool for Power BI. There's, as much as I've spent the last few years of my life, amongst other things, talking to people about changing data culture and how to do that and how to give people access to insights and the data they need without building spread marts and those kinds of things. People still have use cases for files and emails and things like that. So one of the things that we've added to the Power BI APIs in preview mode, right? Note the preview, is the export of reports to PDFs, PowerPoints, and PNGs.
I remember this used to be there and went away in the very, very early iterations of Power BI-like functionality in Excel. That export to
yes. Oh man. That's going back. Yeah, I do remember
I know, but it was one of my favorite things because I have people who are like, I'm going to go take this. I'm going to a conference where there's cruddy internet. I just want to take my beautiful report and I want a copy of it so I can hand it out, if you will.
Well, we had export in the UI for a time, but being able to do it via a URL and automate and put maybe even Power Automate on top of the stuff is really cool. So
it's wonderful.
Yeah, there's some things that worth kind of digging into here for a moment. So it talks about how this goes. It's a polling API, so you basically submit a request and you have to go back and ask for the URL. You can also pass it user context, so you can do row level security. So if you want to send Sally her version of the report and Bob his version of the report, you can do that. You can specify which bookmarks are active inside the report. I thought this was awesome. This was like extra mile stuff. Well, I mean, eventually needed to be there, but there in the preview was awesome. So data protection, right? So if the data set has a sensitivity label on it, that will be applied to the exported files as well, if they are PDF and PPTX.
Which is wonderful because then DLP can catch it.
Yes.
MCAS can catch it. Like,
yeah, this is killer. Obviously, this is not available for PNG, right? So just kind of FYI. And yeah, this is just really awesome. There's already some good code samples out there. I'm pretty excited about this one. People will build on this API. I guarantee it.
There's amazing stuff. I mean, I can imagine one of the ones I would have done for my I come out of law, right? So for the partners, when they were doing their partner summit, I would have had an API ready to go to drop for example, like the per division profitability and the matter profitability reports into their mailboxes the day of their partner meeting.
That's right.
Right? Because they're not going to want to go fish those URLs around. They're busy people. And if I just have all these reports just land right at the time of business need with the link to the true source for exploration, that would have been a cool thing.
That's right. So looking at what's coming is right now, this is only for Power BI reports, but also pagina reports will be coming, additional file formats, and formatting options and data sources.
I think this is a great announcement. You say you didn't have a lot, but what you got is really good.
Yeah, this is cool. So a couple quick things on Power Automate UI flows. And so just go out and take a look at the February update for 2020 for UI flows. I'll be honest, I haven't done a ton in my life as a software developer. I've done a lot of localization, right? So language translation, those kinds of things. But I haven't gone through the pain that would require some of these things that are probably very exciting for some people, right? So the international input method editors, or IMEs. If you know what that is, you're probably pretty pumped about this. If you don't know what that is, you probably don't need it. But it has to do with being able to input international characters. Again, this is around the UI flows, the RPA stuff that is coming soon. So this is really a lot of support for international characters, being able to opt in or out of coordinate-based playback, which is a fallback mechanism inside of RPA type of things, and of course just general kind of bug fixes. So we're really hitting our stride on updating and bringing UI flows to GA, which transitions nicely to this next blog post, which announces that on April the 2nd. Actually, what day is that? I don't. Is there something special about April the 2nd? Thursday. Like that's an interesting day. I don't know why a random Thursday is the day we're going GA, but that's what's happening. So UI
There's
flow.
a project plan somewhere, Todd, where on this date things finished, and the next day it announces.
It has to be something like that because I don't know why. I remember like in high school, like CDs came out on Tuesdays. I don't know what Thursdays are.
I asked a product engineer when something was going to ship, and it was like March, and they said, well, it'll be the third month from January 15th. And I'm
Actually,
like,
what it was.
It was like March 2nd or whatever it was. I'm like, so next week? And they're like, oh, I guess it would be that, wouldn't it? And I'm like,
But you know what day you can't ship something on? I mean, you can't ship something on April Fool's Day. I mean, that's just you. So I'm guessing it has something to do with that.
I would be very. I think there's nothing wrong with doing that. That's very fun.
Right. Yeah, but people will be suspect, right?
Fair
So,
enough.
I don't know. So check that out. The other thing in here, do we want to talk about pricing a little bit, or just kind of at least point people to the fact that pricing is in here for unattended and attended and unattended RPA, and the pricing.
I think it's worth pointing out that it's there, and you should go understand it.
Yep, that's right. So those are the two models, attended and unattended. So go check that out, and if you guys have questions, tweet at us, and we'll dig into that. But it's worth knowing. All right. Last but not least for me, this is exciting. On March the 20th, so coming up here in 2 weeks, the Power Platform Online Conference. So there's some really good. What's that?
Online conference.
Yes, which is really about. I think everything is moving towards that right now.
I think everything is moving towards that, but they've been super popular. Remember the first time you and I saw when it blew up into the hundreds of thousands? We were like, my gosh, there's something to this Power Platform thing, right? So,
yeah, that's right. So yeah, this is exciting. We're definitely. This is probably these guys are feeling pretty good about their choice to have an online conference from the beginning.
Yeah.
Given all the news, so. Really good things from beginner. So build your first Power App with Power Apps and Automate. And if I go all the way down, the very last session here, so a lot of sessions, ALM for low code solutions, Azure DevOps and GitHub. So this is not, this is a 300-400 level solution right here.
Yeah.
So the point is there's something for everybody here, for beginners, for Hello World, all the way through to how do you operationalize and do application lifecycle management around your Power Platform assets. So this is awesome. Of course, I'm certain the sessions will be recorded. Power BI governance, it feels like that's a conversation I'm having a lot lately.
Oh, gosh, it's a huge percentage. We're actually doing workshops plus hackathons in Mini, and we're going to turn those into virtual because they're so popular.
Yeah.
So, but it's like for us, we have 1 day deploying the solution, not like a quick overview, but you actually do side-by-side deployment.
Right.
And the next day you hack on it and play with it and do things with the solution. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Well, Sir Doug, that's about all I got. What do you have? Let's talk some remote work, maybe.
I got a ton. First, let's go full screen on this one for a brief moment. And I'm going to turn off, by the way, this is a sidecar. I'm going to close it down. But if you haven't played with collections in Edge, you should. Kind of lets you organize the stuff you're getting together and everything else. So go check out that feature if you have not been messing around with it. But I closed that down. So we did a response around COVID-19. And if you have not understood the team entitlement and remote work, there's a whole bunch of announcements in on top of it that breaks it down. Like, what are we doing to keep teams available? How are we operationalizing the service? How do you sign in? What are the specific grants and entitlements on top of it? But if you'll notice right up top that there's a couple of key important points that says anyone who goes in will automatically receive a free license of Team that's valid through 2021. If they're signing in with the work or school, and they've got details for the technology around that. Now, Teams has the freemium and has had the freemium version for a while, and what it gives you is spec'd out in top of that. But then beginning on March 10th, they're rolling out updates to the free version of Teams that lifts restrictions on user limits. All right, so you can cut back. So essentially, they're gonna the freemium versions are gonna get limit removals and all the rest of the stuff. They're making those changes right now as fast as they can to let people get access to these tools. And so you have a nice long window to be able to do remote meetings, remote events. The limit caps are going off of the meetings if you look in there for it. So if you want details, the video meetings up to 250 and live events for 10,000. So it's a nice entitlement. We're a technology company, and we have a whole division that specializes in allowing flexible work styles. Right. So this is what we can offer, and we saw a 500% increase in utilization. The article from Lily, who runs the stuff out of China, is in there. So a 500% increase in the first few days. And her letter is very interesting. So it talks about, was that?
I said, holy cow, I had not seen that stat. That's
Yeah, Lily's letter is in here, she talks about exactly what they've gone through. And I would say, if you don't have a culture of remote work, talking about like what she's learned about like how to work well remotely, how to still disconnect now that you're, on top of it, and like what she learned from a customer interaction. So this is more of a soft statement of someone who dealt with this crisis first party over there, and what her observations were. So I think it's an interesting set of assets. So if there is someone who needs this, the capabilities are out there, and I'll just leave it at that. Well, if you need help from us, hit us up. There's lots of resources and links in there. You can obviously reach out through the MTCs. We are still open. The technology centers are still open, right, in region. We've increased our sanitization protocols, but you and I are not shutting our facilities down. So
no, not yet, and I don't think that's planned, but we'll see.
And if we would need to, we would go into remote whiteboarding and remote work and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So
this entitlement. A conversation I had this week with a customer was really kind of thinking through what permanent changes are going to be a result, even if things don't get worse, and hopefully that's the case. Things are still going to change permanently because of this, and how many organizations are going to change their culture because they're going to find out. A lot of organizations are going to find out, like, hey, remote work can actually work. For use cases. So
it's like anything else. There was this push towards work from anywhere, then there was this yank back to corporate campuses, and it's like the pendulums of IT always swing, right? Yep. There's a zen point for every organization, and hopefully everyone figures out what the best mix is for productivity and flexibility and lifestyle for their employees. Yep. So hopefully that is a positive outcome of what is certainly a tragic thing for many people. So anyway, so there's your entitlements review. I don't want to dig more into it, but if you need that support or something technology from Microsoft, then there is also the things you need to configure and support. So if you cut very quickly to this one, there is a bunch of sample documentation on end user guidance, the training stuff, the resources for remote work, admin recommendations on top of it. And that's kind of where we're putting a lot of the information, and they're updating it pretty frequently on the guidance around that. So there's some pretty good stuff in there. Okay, so that's enough of the positive/negative side of things, right? We're going to go to the normal purpose of our show, which is going forward. And so first, there was an announcement, Todd, I don't know if you saw it, that we are announcing and updating to Cortana in the next Windows release.
Yes.
Now, so some people were thinking we were going to kill this thing, and it's not. It does not appear to be the case at all. They're doing a whole bunch of Microsoft 365 integration on top of it, a whole new series of security and integration with Windows and M365, including things like remind me to send a weekly report every Friday at 2, add status report to my task list. So all these common cross-service task-oriented things. And there was one interesting thing that hit me down the additional changes, that we're turning off Cortana services in the Microsoft launcher by the end of April. Now that means then the launcher will be launcher and Cortana will be Cortana, which has been a little confusing if you were using the launcher and you got Cortana and there was a Cortana of the application. But it does appear that we're really doing a rich integration to Cortana into Microsoft 365. So more on that, but if you haven't been paying attention to it, I think you're going to see more and more integration into into that suite from the.
It's just an evolution of the Cortana as a service option, right? It's an evolution, right?
I agree, but we just hadn't heard anything on it in a while. And people were like, is this a real thing or not? And the answer is, underneath all these services is LUIS, the language, understanding and intelligence service, and all the cognitive services from Microsoft. So all those things are amazing, which leads me seamlessly into my next announcement, which is nothing but interesting and intriguing. And that is, are you aware of Bose?
Soundscape. I know what this is. This is amazing.
Okay.
Yes.
But Bose released Bose frames. Have you seen them at all?
Yes.
So they are like Bose looking sunglasses. You got the component on top of it, and they're known for being able to put sound in, but not occluding your natural environment hearing, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of really advanced features on top of that. And Microsoft released our Soundscape, which is our API acknowledgement of what's going on for a richer awareness of your surrounding. You've seen some of those projects on top of it, and so. They have this whole, the Soundscape project, the applications behind it is now released on top of the Bose Frames project.
Yes, no, this is great. I would say if you want to get a sense for, because not everybody's going to be able to rush out and get one of these, or if you don't have a need for it, you probably won't. But if you want to get a sense for what kind of capabilities are there, we do have that Seeing AI app in the iOS App Store.
Yes, it's great.
Pretty amazing.
Yep. So there's the Seeing AI one, and the other versions of this are obviously the closed captioning. If you activate it in the meeting you're watching right now, you can activate it in a number of languages and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of, and I think I put in French, German, simplified Chinese this week, Bulgarian, just, so we're streaming out in multiple languages. Awesome. And so you can start to understand the richness of those services capabilities. I just love how kind of finished this is. Does that make sense?
It's a solution, yes.
So I was looking at my budget to see if I could get one in, and so I was reaching out to our leadership to see if we could get them in. So
what do they run? Do you know?
I think it'd be very interesting to have people go through the experience of the mixed reality headsets, the augmented reality headset that is HoloLens, and then sort of this augmentation reality version without different kind of augmented reality through nothing.
This is AR, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, an announcement on top of that.
Cool.
Okay. So that was the previous one, which we had on top of it. Now, I'm going over to the Microsoft Secure blog. Please cut to this as full screen for a moment. All right, so the reason I want to do this is it says quick wins, single sign and multi-factor authentication down below. And then you'll notice IT executives prioritize multi-factor authentication in 2020. And right down to the left of it, human-operated ransomware attacks, a preventable disaster. Cut back, please. Do you think any of these are going to be correlated?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think they are, Todd. And I finally got the visual, and I know people have been waiting on this for a while, but I finally got my stickers done, and I'm submitting the order this week for my little, best practices Office Flash Friday guidance stickers, which would be the limited edition ones, not the regular Office Flash Friday logo stickers, but the ones that said you did something that we said was best practice, and therefore, right? Because I've had people send me a bunch of their screenshots. People like, whatever happened to that? Well, I got busy, and now I finally got it done. But there's the guidance document on quick wins for MFA, which basically says, hey, here are 7 benefits of doing Azure AD and MFA, and all the guidance around zero trust and Azure AD single sign-on and why your password doesn't matter, all the stuff.
Right.
It's kind of my normal rant I do once a quarter in a bucket, but I had another customer go through an event, not a breach, an event, in the last 2 weeks that was preventable by MFA because people said MFA is hard or they don't like it. Reminder, you can restrict it to managed devices, only edge scenarios, like you're using conditional access rules to reflect your business security requirements. And if you don't think that you need to do that or you'd like to tell a story to someone about it, let's cut to full screen on this. This is the human-operated ransomware attacks, a preventable disaster. So inside of Microsoft Threats and Research, obviously you remember WannaCry and NotPetya, right? Which is self-propagating, auto-spreading ransomware and hijackware. But what people are doing now is they're actually taking, and we're naming some of these groups, which are essentially a smash and grab gang that is using human techniques to come on top of this. And so what they're doing is they're using the Wadrama as a payload. And so we've been tracking this group, and now we're naming things, by the way, based on global volcanoes. I don't know if you knew that's how we were naming threat organizations now, but that's our naming convention for it. And so it says, hey, it impacts 3 to 4 organizations each week, and it's quite, so they're targeting people. And what they do is they go brute force against things that are exposed through remote desktop protocol. Okay, so let's cut back very briefly. Should you have directly exposed RDP? You should not. Should you put it behind other access protocols like, say, Azure AD Application Proxy or other things to prevent direct access to RDP? You should. Yeah. And then what people are doing is they're doing brute force attacks against it. And then they're using the Wadrama attack chain. So let's cut back to the full component. So I'm in command and control, right? And if you look, we've mapped it against the MITRE attack framework. So if you're a MITRE person, you can go ahead and say, here's all the different things we're doing. And they do network recon, lateral movement. It's the normal thing. So what they talk about then is the exact infection chain on top of it. And if I come down to here, you'll notice you're seeing from here an ATP alert that says, hey, we spot that. All right, so cut back. So if you're using Azure ATP and Defender ATP, these signal intelligence is going to be trapped and obvious. And if you were to go through the whole thing, there's the alert process. And then let's cut back to full screen. There we have it. Drum roll, please. Mimikatz. Is anyone surprised?
Oh, boy.
You should not be, all right? So then parent COD establishes a whole bunch of script thing, does a registry addition for, allow TS connections, does all sorts of modifications on top of it. And then it generates new user accounts and acts them never expiring passwords, all the rest of those kind of things. Well, if you think that stops active services that might interfere using NetExe, so it does a whole bunch of script automations on top of it, and then it drops the array of malware executables, and then you get this.
Pwned.
All your bases belong to us. Yes?
Right. Yes, not good.
Okay, so let's cut back. So the point here behind this is it's stoppable, right? If you had ubiquitous MFA and front door protection, they would never have been able to get. Go back to the MITRE ATT&CK framework portion of things, right? If you're using the MITRE ATT&CK framework and you're going through and you're doing, hey, here's how they would use brute force, disable security tools, scanning, whatever it is. These are all things that a normally safeguarded environment should be able to auto remediate and get rid of. If you're using native Windows 10 capabilities to have isolation of the LSAS, right, through Credential Guard, if you have agents that are on here to do isolation, if you have proper network isolation for things and front-end authenticators, you don't get into this kind of trouble. So let's say someone does manage to make it through, proper visibility and automation tools will then slam the door shut along the way, breaking the attack kill chain. Because what we want to do, as soon as someone gets in or there is an event, we want to kill it as high in the stack as we possibly can. And so this is just an example of exactly the kind of events that'll get fired off and where they'll go. And then it talks about exactly, hey, how are you going to stop these things while it runs through? I do think, unfortunately, that because we're going to have a lot more people working remote, that the attack surface is going to increase temporarily to unsecured endpoints very significantly.
Yeah, totally.
So I think that one thing security people are going to have to do on this is really up their game in regards to the authentication side of things. So this moment might be a time where you really want to ramp your conditional access rules to make sure it's really your people coming in, because in a time of remote work, people are going to be maybe their guards will be down a little more. And I think then if we step up our technical controls to make sure it's our employees actually doing the remote work, that's something we're going to need to take advantage of.
I mean, and hopefully, this is one of those where we can bring a positive out of all the negative that's going on. So,
yeah, I just wanted to remind people that, if you've been like, well, it's inconvenient for people, I think that this is a moment where bad actors are going to try and take a little advantage of you, and you all own an entitlement to use this from us or from another vendor. Almost everybody owns an entitlement for this, and you certainly own it from us just to turn it on.
Right.
For O365, we announced that at Ignite. So, for O365, for Microsoft services, you own MFA. Right. Brad Anderson said he did not stutter. So I really wanted to point out that if you are enabling these different kind of scenarios, there is the other half, and that there is this example that we've been tracking out there of, human operated ransomware. So people are going to try and take advantage of people in a vulnerable time, and I don't want that to happen. So I don't want it to ever happen, but now I do think there's a window. So let's make sure that we've got our MFA turned on, that you've implemented the rules to keep your employees safe while they are working remotely, if that happens to head your direction as you need to do it for your business. So, and the MFA rant I have, how often, I suppose once a quarter I get on my soapbox and go down this road, right?
Yeah, a little more, but that's all right.
A little more, that's okay, because it's the number one thing.
I'm not saying that's bad.
All right, well, I'm glad, but if you do need help, if you are stuck,
yes,
on any of these areas, whether getting access to the tools, whatever, please reach out to us or the partner ecosystem, and we'll try and get you going.
Just no excuse, no good excuse.
I know it was a little bit like negative, fun stuff, and then back to security at the end again, but I think it is important we turn these services on and that you leverage your entitlements. So we'll be back next week. Todd and I were going to be at a conference, but obviously a lot of those things have been later out. So you and I will be back on the air next week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
You will see a few more like remote offerings from the MTCs just to help people who can't go to trainings and that kind of stuff. So I'm sure you guys are considering St. Louis too.
Absolutely.
To support people. So you'll probably see a little more offerings from us where we'll allow people remote who are under travel restrictions to learn things and get good work done. So if there is something you need or a topic you want us to cover on Flash, hit Todd or I up on Twitter. We're happy to dive in on those. Mr. Kidda, anything else?
No, I think this is going to be a rare finish early episode. That's all right.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll take that. We've run late before, so we'll give people back a few minutes of their lives.
Figure this out. All right.
Well, it's going to be a beautiful weekend in Minneapolis. I don't know what it's going to be like for you in St. Louis, but we're breaking into the 60s here, so I'm thrilled.
Ooh, that's good for March. That's very good.
I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, wash your hands, be safe, don't touch your face, all those things, and have a good weekend.
All right. We'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks.